Welcome in to Greenville Grit. This is Greenville Residents in Touch with your hosts, Terry Williams and Michael Overton. This is the show that keeps you connected and in touch with the issues that affect what's happening in your community. Greenville Grit is sponsored by Greenville Toyota, the Overton Group. And now, here are your hosts for Greenville Grit, Terry Williams and Michael Overton.
Good evening and welcome to Greenville Grit. I'm Terry Williams.
And I'm Dennis Mitchell. And along with, by our side, we have Kevin Mulligan, who is our Public Works Director, our newest one. Well, he's been 18 months.
18 months. That's
Thank
right.
you for being with us
Yeah,
tonight.
my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
We've got lots of things to discuss about our streets, so we'll move on to that in just a minute. But before we do, we want to thank our sponsors. We have Greenville Toyota, who've been with us since the very beginning.
Very beginning, yeah.
So if you need a new or a used car, please go visit Greenville Toyota and tell them you saw it and heard it on the Grit. We also have Michael Overton, the Overton Group, still sponsoring us, hanging in there with residential, commercial real estate, business brokerage, and property management.
Everything.
They do it all, full service. By the way, Michael's on vacation this week, so we're missing him. And our other sponsor, our other sponsor is Ribeyes. They were our newest sponsor. They came on board a few weeks back. And they are still offering
with 25%.
25% off. Go into Ribeyes and eat between now and next Wednesday evening and mention the Greenville Grit, and you get a 25% discount.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's exciting. So we're thanking our sponsors very much, and we'll go to a commercial break and come back in a moment and get started with Kevin.
And we're back here on the Greenville Grit. As Terry said earlier, it's me and her this week. Michael's taking a little vacation. You know, he needs it. He works very hard at Overton Group doing all that stuff. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about the roads in Greenville and maybe get into a little bit more public works depending on how much time we have left. But we, like I said earlier, we have Kevin Mulligan here, who's our new Public Works Director, been on the job 18 months. I think it was a great hire by Barbara. I remember my first meeting. I actually was here on the city council when you started. Your very first meeting there, you just seemed so knowledgeable, like you read everything. So talk, Kevin. Tell us about yourself.
Tell us about yourself.
Oh, certainly appreciate the kind words. I've been here 18 months. Loving the city of Greenville. We're having a lot of fun. The family is. We came down from Long Island. Wife and I both lived in Manhattan, probably for about 10, 12 years. Wow. And then off to move to Long Beach, which is probably a lot like Atlantic Beach here in North Carolina, between a bay and the ocean. And we're there for about 3 or 4 years. I actually worked in the same capacity for the city of Long Beach, and we enjoyed it. Enjoyed it up until about Hurricane Sandy, 6-7 feet of water. This was already in the works, but that was probably the last push. And it's sort of like Jaws 4. I got sick of the sharks, so I moved to Hurricane Alley. So
Really?
she moves to Bermuda instead of Kansas.
Right.
But
exactly.
anyway, we're here. We've done a lot, I think, in the last 18 months. We've started the conversion to our automated service pickup, where we have 6,000 customers online right now, moving probably another 6,000 in the coming months, towards the latter half of this year. And working on our stormwater policies and our stormwater projects, watershed master plans, some big important projects, Town Creek Culvert, we have the parking deck going up, that's going up very well, right on schedule. Apologize for any of the delays uptown as a result of that, but soon enough, end of the year, it's going to be a great project.
Right.
And
we didn't let you ease in here, did we?
Everything was kind of thrown at you, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, wait till 2016 when Town Creek Culvert's in construction, 10th Street Connector, several more projects. So Uptown is really, really changing. The university is going to have a bunch of projects that are in construction during that time. So we're coordinating, trying to keep all of the streets open so that certainly business is a primary concern.
Well, the big thing here that we've been talking about lately as we move discussion about the budget and the bond, but one of the biggest issues is our roads. And Mayor Alan Thomas talks about a lot. When you first started here at the City of Greenville, you presented to the City Council and you told us the need that we have on our roads. So let's talk a little bit about our roads. What are the conditions of the roads in Greenville?
Sure. The city of Greenville has about 700, and I'll call them lane miles. We used to refer to them as 200 miles of road, but each road, do I have 2 lanes or 4 lanes or 6 lanes, 8 lanes? So it's important to know how big the road is. So 700 lane miles. The state also has the major connectors, your Evans, Greenville, roads like that, Fire Tower. Those are state roads. They have about 200 plus lane miles. So we have the bulk of the lane miles in the city. And during that report, I think that was beginning of 13, early 13, we talked about that there were probably 100 miles of roads that are in fair to poor condition, and that we needed a program to systematically resurface, replace, rehabilitate these roads. Extremely important. The foundation of your city, from a public works perspective, is your infrastructure. If your infrastructure is failing, your whole city is sort of failing. If we talk about economic development quite a bit. If there's a restaurant on a beautiful road, a beautiful tree-lined road, or if there's a restaurant with a broken parking lot and a broken street, you're probably going to drive by the restaurant with a broken parking lot and a broken street, and to find a better one. So, roads, very, very important, as we probably stated when I was calling you council member back in 2013. One of the first presentations made to the council was the importance of rehabbing our city roads. And at that time, we, again, identified about 100 miles of roads, and the council put together a plan or allocated $4 million to go towards roads. And we looked at rebuilding some, resurfacing some, and microsurface or slurry seal. And I can talk about that. In general, what we're doing is we're resurfacing our roads, where we're milling a couple inches of asphalt off and then replacing a couple of inches with a couple inches of asphalt. So in 2013, we had some roads already keyed up. So we did 14 miles of road resurfacing in 2013, and then we recently completed about 8 miles of the microsurfacing.
Okay. So was all of this discussion in 2013 what brought about the need for the study?
Exactly.
There's been a lot of conversation about, which I mentioned earlier. It seems like there had been so much negative conversation about all the studies, but it seems like for so long, no studies have been done. So I think we've all been bombarded in the last maybe 24 months or a little bit longer maybe, but with all of the studies coming into play now, the Dickinson Avenue, we've got the Tar River, which is new, but this study about the roads, and there's been conversation about, is that study complete and how can we get a copy of it?
Sure. So what we want to do, best practice of many cities, and I'll reference Charlotte is a model city, has done this, do a diagnostics of your streets. Wilmington has done this. City of Austin, Texas, always recognized as one of the better run cities. Montgomery County, a lot of these places, this is your best practice. So go out and perform the diagnostics on your road. We have 700 miles. There's many parts to deciding on what roads are going to be done. So I get a lot of phone calls that, my road needs to be done. It's the worst in the city. That's a piece of it. Potholes, winter. Some of our major roads and minor roads, a lot of potholes, alligator cracking. Alligator cracking is lots of cracks, lots of stripe. It looks like an alligator's back. So that's why it's ingeniously called alligator cracking. So all of these are pieces, but to bring all of those pieces together, we wanted what I refer to as a Google truck analysis, where they're out there and they're investigating every square inch of our roadway. And we're getting a pavement condition index as well as a rideability index. And that is sort of your database. I'm at the computer, and now I know I have basically a Christmas tree or traffic signal. Look, I have a green road, a yellow road, and a red road. My red road is my worst condition, and it shows that we have a little more, right around 100 miles, a little more than 100 lane miles of roadway that's in poor condition, that we need to either rebuild, it's too far gone, we need to rebuild it, or resurface it, and then do we tackle some of the roads that are yellow that we can microsurface, a cheaper alternative? And we're looking at different alternatives to extend our dollars as far as possible.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
So I have that. So I have that piece. But now what I need to do, and that was finished back about a month ago, the draft of that. We went back and forth with the consultant based on our knowledge, what the truck saw, our knowledge of the roads. But I need my street superintendent, who, by the way, came from Wilmington, who started this program with this company in Wilmington and did a couple of generations of this. So very talented guy. I have a bunch of talented professional engineers who know what they're doing when it comes to road resurfacing. Now that we have the money, I need a plan to best use that money, because the money is very, very difficult to come by.
Right.
I don't want to resurface a road that where I have poor soil conditions underneath, or that GUC, CenturyLink, somebody, some other utility is out there has a plan a year later to rip up that road.
Exactly. I know Dennis and I served on the Redevelopment Commission, and I remember all that discussion with the Fifth Street streetscapes about wanting underground wiring or wanting certain things done. And so as they came through the road, they had to determine what condition everything was with GUC and cable and various things, and what had to be done. And sometimes that slowed down progress because they had to do work in order for the streets and the sidewalks to be finished.
Right. I mean, road resurfacing is a pretty fast. You put the contract together, and a contractor can I'll say bang out. He can bang out the project pretty quickly. It only takes a month or so, whether it's $2 million, $4 million, his crews, he can be out there, and he can spend that money pretty quickly. The homework is in identifying the right road. So my diagnostics, my Google truck says that road X is in poor condition. Well, is that asphalt or concrete road? Is it an inch of asphalt over a concrete road?
Right.
I wouldn't generally mill that asphalt off and put asphalt back on. I would do a different treatment. So I need to know what specifically roads are in poor condition and what those roads look like. What is the fabric of those roads?
So this is just way more complicated than saying,
very complicated.
You know, me driving around saying that road is in terrible condition. That's no brainer. Go out there and pave that road, Kevin. I mean, you really have to get into the nuts and bolts in this and find out what the environmental concerns are on that road, what type of road it is.
Right.
I mean, it's a very complicated process.
It's there's a bit of engineering that goes with it for sure. Again, is road resurfacing, it's going to last 20 plus years. I have 700 miles of road. Road's going to last about 20, 22, 23 years. So on average, what that breaks down to is about $2.5 million a year I need to spend based on a $75,000 to $100,000 per lane mile.
Because you don't want those yellow roads to turn to red roads.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We discussed that too about maintenance. If we get all these new roads done, then we've got to be concerned, which doesn't look like it's been done maybe in the past, having a plan of maintenance after we get the work done and having the money to do that.
And we're not alone. It's the challenge of every single municipality across the country. 90% of the municipalities struggle with it, struggle greatly with it. There's only a few who have this plan in place and the money in place behind it to go out there and address these roads. It's a challenge for every municipality out there.
So of the money that you need right now that you were just saying, we've got this money, are you speaking about the $4 million that was allocated by the council?
So again, 2013, we did about 14 miles of road resurfacing.
Which costs about, do we know?
Yeah, about $1.1 million for that. And because we spent about 1.3, and the other 200,000 went towards the microsurfacing in the Sedgefield area. So we want to see how that holds up. We can do microsurfacing, resurfacing, full depth reclamation, which is probably 3 times the price of road resurfacing. That's if the road resurfacing, if the road is too far gone, so that road resurfacing doesn't really lend itself to a viable solution.
So of that $4 million, what you're speaking about, how much has been spent?
About $1.3 million.
Okay. And so why, I guess, is a lot of questions. Is it taking so long to spend the rest, to get to the next roads?
Great question, and a very valid question. We hired this company called Transmap in beginning of the year to do this. They went out and they measured this in, I believe it was January, with a state-funded, or 80-90% of it was a $250,000 study that Winterville, Ayden, Simpson, and the city partook in, and it cost us about $40,000 to get all of this done. If we do it ourselves, it's $250,000. So there's some great benefit to teaming up, and it was it was a STIP project, a transportation improvement program, so we get it
Okay.
funded by the state. So they did that assessment. We get the data, and now we need to go out, which we've been doing for the past few weeks, looking at the actual roads. I know the roads that are red, that are in poor condition. I also know that I have 9th Street was one of them, but I know 9th Street is being torn up as part of the 10th Street connector.
Right.
So I have to look at what projects are coming down the pike. I don't want to resurface a road that's going to be torn up next year. I need to reach out to the utility companies and make sure that their plans, are they about to rip up a road next year, 2 years from now? And if we're resurfacing, maybe they want to bump up their pipe replacement or whatever it is to coincide so that we
Right.
both benefit and save money and work to synchronize our projects. That's the plan. It takes a little time to get everyone on the same page. We've been meeting with GUC. They're probably the main player. They have the water,
Right.
the sewer, the gas, electric, have their 5-year plan. We're formulating our 5-year plan. So we'll be able to share this information. And then, I like to say it's a static program that I could publish what the roads will be for the next
Right.
5 years, but it will change based on their needs. Something will happen in their network, their infrastructure network, that they'll need to move up a road or move up a pipe system, and we'll look to adjust our system to synchronize with them.
Right. And this-
So when do you anticipate everything being completed and we can start using the rest of the money paving the roads?
We're looking to put out a contract for bid in August, so next month. My goal, it would be, unfortunately, I'd love to award it in September, but that usually means mid-August. I need to have it in front of council. That's going to be tough because I need to provide 3-4 weeks for a contractor to bid on the project. So we'll see what we can do to meet September's council session. Very difficult, but that's the aggressive goal. The fallback would be the next session after.
So the study is basically complete, but when will it be available if the public wanted to view, or however it is available?
There's the rating index of all of the roads. We will put online very shortly.
Right.
There's that's sort of the foundational piece. There's a lot more
Right.
to it. There's our knowledge of the soil conditions. I'm not going to resurface a road that I know, it's like Arlington. Arlington's in bad condition, but from the surface, you look at it, there's some rutting there. What causes that rutting? When we replaced a piece of it previously, we find a lot of stumps in there, so some organic matter.
Right.
Trees, we'll call them organic. It decays, and when that decay happens, you have these voids that occur, and the road sort of collapses from the traffic. Not a physical full-on collapse,
Right.
but you'll see some rutting in the roads. So that leads us to some of the roads that are on the bond proposal.
Right, exactly.
And with this $4 million, we're focusing really on our tertiary, call them not the Arlingtons or not the secondary roads like Red Banks or Hooker Road, more of our neighborhood roads.
Right.
And that's where we can probably do the most amount of resurfacing in the city.
I see. Well, let's switch gears just a minute and talk about Dickinson Avenue, because there's been a lot of discussion in the past couple of weeks regarding, of course, we know that the state is going to handle repaving or however you want to term it, the Dickinson Avenue part, but that the city is responsible for the streetscapes and that sort of thing. Barbara
That's
mentioned
correct.
that. Can you explain a little bit to the public, because I don't think that they really understand what's the responsibility of the city, even though it is a state road.
That's right. So the state will come in and they'll rehab the road from curb to curb. So
Is this going to be from Dickinson, from the new 10th Street overpass area, or further than that up to
both.
Reed Circle, maybe?
It will
or-
be Reed.
Okay.
And it'll probably be phase 1 and phase 2, whether that's all in construction at the same time. We'll have to see, just based on the amount of projects that will be going on at the same time. Not saying we want to delay anything. I just need to look at the access to uptown.
Right,
We're going to have a lot of projects going on at the same time. Dickinson, is under the new DOT rating or criteria for their MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Right.
The way they rate and evaluate projects, we think it's going to be funded. Mm-hmm. We don't have a guarantee until the end of the year.
Right.
So, assuming that it's going to be funded, the project would be from Reed Circle out to Memorial.
Okay.
All right, and we would do a major streetscape between Reed and 14th Street, and then still keep some elements of the streetscape from 14th out to Memorial.
Okay.
So what the city would be responsible for would be the decorative street lights, or any street lighting, whether it's decorative or not,
Right.
is on us. The sidewalks. DOT will provide 60% of the funding on a 5-foot sidewalk, and we're responsible for the other 40%. If it turns out to be an 8-foot sidewalk, then again, 60-40 on the 5-foot, 100% for us on the other 3 feet. If we wanted to do brick pavers to designate the crosswalks,
Right.
or on the sidewalks,
Which is a theme we have going on.
it is, and I think
I wouldn't
certainly
want to
in
not continue it. I
this
wouldn't think.
arts district, I think it's incredibly important for the economic development of that
Right.
area that we do something like that.
Exactly.
That we invest in this city here. So we would be responsible for that. Anything over and above what is a normal asphalt road, they pay for the thermoplastic striping to designate the crosswalk. If we wanted the brickwork, we would pay for that.
Well, Kevin, and I want to get to this because I know we were running short on time. You gave us a lot of great information.
You have.
Can you give us an update on the parking deck?
Sure. We are just finished with the 173rd pile. I think that was yesterday. So 173, what we call helical piles. We've driven in these screws into the ground, which will then support the parking deck. And if you've seen the site, you think 173, that's an awful lot for a site like that. So our soil conditions weren't great there, but over the next month, you should start seeing the structure come out of the ground.
And is a precast parking deck similar to the one that's going up?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So
Okay.
theirs is still in the precast condition. Ours will be precast in July. You'll start seeing some of the decorative brick facade going up in probably September. And some of the landscaping, we expect it to be open in December.
Still going hard, December
Absolutely.
opening day. Wow.
Absolutely.
That's going to be an amazing transformational project.
It is. It's going to be awesome.
Glad I was a part of it.
I know. Me too. Yes, that's worked out great. The only other, I guess, question, if we've got time to get this in, is there was discussion about some of the funding comes from the Powell bill. And that funding is approximately, we were told, $2.5 million a year. Where does that money come into play as far as being actually used for roads, or is it used for something else, or how does that come in, and where does it come from? 'Cause some of the public may not know that.
Great question. Powell bill is derived from a tax on gasoline.
Okay.
And so based on your lane miles, actually it was based on centerline miles, and they just changed the format of the formula, which will benefit the city of Greenville, to lane miles. We have probably the same amount of centerline miles as Winterville, almost Aden, but lane miles, we have many more lane miles than them. But so Powell bill, we get about $2.2 million a year. A portion of that previously has gone towards road resurfacing, on the order of $400,000 of that. So where is the other $1.7 million going? Again, we have 700 miles of road. We do the striping, we do the traffic signals, we do the sidewalk, the street sweeping, salt, sand. This winter, the purchase of 100 tons of salt, all of filling the potholes, any sort of utility cut that we repair that's coming, any sort of road improvement that we're doing, all of the equipment that you see out there, the dump trucks, the spreaders, the excavators, as well as our personnel. They're all working. They're very talented, and they're all working towards that road improvement, and that comes out of the Powell Bill Fund, very similar to many, many other municipalities.
Exactly. Well, we need to take a break right now and recognize our sponsors again. We want to thank the Overton Group. We want to thank Ribeyes and Greenville Toyota, and we'll come back and wrap up our discussion with Kevin.
Are you thinking about what to do?
And we're back. We're back, and we're going to, I guess, close out here. Terry,
Yes.
you have any more information? We got so much information.
We have.
Can we get any more?
It's been great. Well, I do have a question, because I think a lot of people are still confused about state roads versus city roads. And I guess my question is, if you know, as our public works director, how bad one of the state roads is, what is the procedure to try to get the attention of Raleigh to give us money that we can't wait to have something repaired? How does that happen?
Yeah, great question. So it depends on what we want to do. We want to resurface it, or we want to rebuild it. That's probably a longer range project.
Right.
There's some rebuilding or widening project, Evans Street widening, Greenville. I won't call that a widening project.
Right.
10th Street. Those are state roads that we're looking at some sort of modification. Charles Street we're also looking at, maybe continuing that center median that's in front of the stadium, continuing that southward. But resurfacing, getting potholes repaired. We either talked to their operations crew or just had lunch with their district engineer of this district, and to talk, to do that, to communicate, hey, what is your plan for this year? What are the road resurfacing plans? And there's some that are north of the river for this year, and to go over with them, make sure we're coordinated as well.
Right, exactly. Well, it's been a great discussion. You've given us so much information, and I hope that if you have any questions that you'll certainly call Kevin.
We'd be very happy to answer them.
I know that you will. You've been gracious. I appreciate all the answers that you've given. I'm sure this discussion will continue quite a bit as we have more discussion on the bond. We want to thank our sponsors again. Don't forget Ribeyes, 25% discount, and watch us on Friday and Saturday for a replay. Thank you so much.